Po the giant panda wakes up from his dream in his room. His goose father, Mr. Ping, James Hong, calls to him from the noodle restaurant below to help serve tables. He is hesitant to express his desires to his dad, who is more interested in running his restaurant and advertising his famous secret ingredient soup. Master Shifu, or Red Panda, who resides at the Jade Palace Temple, practices kung fu in the courtyard with his students, the Furious Five, Tigress Crane Monkey. Before he is summoned to see Tortoise Grand Master Oogway, fearing something is wrong, Oogway doesn't deny bad news but calmly tells Shifu he's predicted that the snow-leopard warrior Tai Lung will escape prison and return to the Valley of Peace to wreak destruction once again. Shifu sends his goose messenger, Zeng, to fly to Chorh-Gom Prison to ensure that security is increased. Oogway then proclaims that it is time to choose the dragon warrior. Shifu prepares a competition to determine which one will qualify. Flyers for the competition are spread throughout town and the villagers flock to the temple. Excited to have the opportunity to see his idols in person, Po follows with his noodle cart in tow but struggles on the long staircase to the temple. He is the last to arrive at the gates and finds that they've shut him out. In a desperate bid to see the competition before it's over, Po fashions fireworks to his cart and blasts himself high into the air, only to come crashing down in the arena just as Oogway is preparing to choose out of the five. Oogway's decision is final, despite Shifu's protests, and Po is carried, unsuccessfully, into the temple, leaving Tigress greatly disappointed since it seemed Oogway would have chosen her if Po hadn't arrived. Inside the temple, Po examines, with awe, the many weaponry and valuable artifacts before Shifu approaches him and berates him for his obvious lack of skill. He deflates Po's excitement by grabbing his finger in what Po recognizes as the Wuxi finger hold, reputed to be extremely powerful. Shifu promises that Po will regret ever being chosen before taking him to the Five's training room, where Po is promptly put to the test. Nervous, but excited to try some kung fu moves, Po accepts the challenge but is hurdled, flung, and beaten down to a now existing level 0. On the way to the dormitories, Po overhears the five poke fun at his incompetence. He has an awkward conversation with Crane. Tigress assures his doubts, calling him a disgrace to kung fu and tells him that, if he is wise, he will leave by morning. Oogway finds him sitting beneath the peach tree of heavenly wisdom with peaches stuffed into his mouth. He should instead focus on the present moment rather than doubting himself. Renewed with a sense of determination, Po rises the next morning before anyone else and announces that he will stay to train. He spars with each of the Furious Five, receiving swift beatings despite his undeterred enthusiasm. During an acupuncture session with Mantis, the five reveal that Shifu was not always as stern as he currently is. Tigress explains that Tai Lung himself was the reason for Shifu's shift in personality. Having found him as a newborn on the steps of the temple, Shifu raised Tai Lung as his own and began to hope that he was the fabled dragon warrior when the cub displayed a natural talent in kung fu. Enraged, Tai Lung went on a rampage through the village and attempted to take the scroll by force. Tigress then says that Shifu never cared for anything or anyone since, not even her, his own foster daughter. Vacher assures Zeng that the prison is inescapable as one of Zeng's feathers falls within reach of Tai Lung. Using his tail, he uses the feather to remove the chi blockers in the turtle shell contraption on his back and break free. Tai Lung escapes the prison in an explosive display of his fierce kung fu abilities and grabs Zeng, instructing him to fly back to Shifu to announce that the real dragon warrior is coming home. Back at the temple, Po entertains the five with some noodle soup he prepared, imitating Shifu using a noodle as a mustache. Outside, Shifu is met by a disheveled Zeng who relays the news. Panicked, Shifu finds Oogway beside the sacred peach tree and tells him that Tai Lung is on his way. He then gives Shifu his wooden staff and claims that his time has come. He walks near the edge of the cliff side and vanishes in a haze of peach blossoms. Shifu returns to the temple, disconsolate, and informs the five of Oogway's passing and how Po is their last chance to defeat Tai Lung. Horrified, Po flees from the temple but is soon stopped by Shifu. When Shifu asks Po why he then stayed, knowing that his teacher wanted him to quit, Po confesses a deep self-loathing as a fat failure, how he held out a faint hope that Shifu could change him. Overhearing this from the temple roof, Tigress leaves the Jade Palace and runs out to the countryside, soon followed by the rest of the five, to meet Tai Lung head-on. They find him crossing the Thread of Hope, a series of bridges through the mountains. After an epic battle, the five gain the upper hand and appear to have defeated Tai Lung, tying him to the remains of the severed bridge and sending him into the mist below. However, Tai Lung's skills prove superior, and he surprises them. Rising that morning, Shifu finds Po in the temple kitchen. Shifu entertains an idea and tells Po where Monkey keeps his cookies before hiding behind the doorway. He re-enters and sees Po performing a perfect split near the ceiling, chowing down on the cookies. Realizing Po's latent talent, Shifu takes him high into the Wu-Dan Mountains to the Pool of Sacred Tears where Oogway founded the origins of Kung Fu. With a dramatic flourish, Shifu proclaims to be Po's master. With that emotional support, Shifu begins his rigorous training Po, using food as a reward. Po's unique training proves to be successful and he grows stronger and more coordinated while Shifu's own spirits rises and advances at Po's rapid improvement. Shifu's faith in Po is vindicated in an increasingly energetic duel over a dumpling that becomes a wild spar in which the giant panda fights with powerful and innovative skill to win. They return to the temple as Crane flies in, carrying the rest of the 5, who have been paralyzed by Tai Lung's attacks. Shifu assures him that he will have what no one else has, the Dragon Scroll. Shifu retrieves it for Po and instructs him to read it, but Po exclaims in surprise to find nothing but a blank, reflective glaze on the scroll. Terribly disappointed, Shifu relents to have the 5 evacuate the village while he remains at the temple to hold Tai Lung off. Po returns to his father who is packing up the noodle shop. Ping tries to console Po, but Po admits that he's not sure of who he is and can't believe he's Ping's son. He explains that something becomes special if people truly believe that it is. Shifu battles Tai Lung. Tai Lung demands his birthright to have the scroll and blames Shifu for planting dreams in his head of what he thought was his destiny and not standing up to Oogway when the turtle disagreed. He is stopped from dealing a deadly blow to Shifu by Po, who appears, exhausted, at the doorway of the temple. Tai Lung nonetheless attacks Po when he reveals the dragon scroll in hand. Their battle takes them into the village, each one vying for possession of the scroll. Tai Lung finally wins the scroll and triumphantly opens it for the supposed power within. When Po rises to explain it, Tai Lung refuses to accept the panda's words. Tai Lung attacks Po again, but without discipline or real purpose behind it. Tai Lung spews out a slur of insults before Po takes his finger in the Wuxi finger hold. Tai Lung calls Po's bluff and Po admits that Shifu never taught him the move. He figured it out on his own. Energy that resonates throughout the valley and is felt by the 5 leading the refugees into the hills. Tigress and the rest of the 5 bow down to Po, calling him master, before Po runs back to the temple to check on Shifu. He finds Shifu lying still, but alive, on the floor of the temple and tells him he defeated Tai Lung. Po calls out to him and Shifu reprimands him, saying that he's merely resting. Po lies down beside him and that was the best ending of Po. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do not forget to like and subscribe and sharing the video. And I will see you next time.